Boy, when you say the name Folsom around this campus, it carries a legacy. Fred Folsom became the second CU head coach after a group of football players promised Folsom that he could attend law school and be the coach of the Silver and Gold, which was an early nickname for the Buffaloes. However, Fred Folsom, young man, had already committed to going to the University of Michigan to pursue his law degree. But getting to coach was too much of a selling point for Folsom. He made his decision to come to CU very simple. Seems like a pretty good deal for a 21-year-old and a recent pre-law graduate of Dartmouth College. While at Dartmouth, Fred Folsom competed in football and baseball. He was considered the finest end to play at Dartmouth at that time. He led the Big Green to 2 straight league championships as a player coach, a position which was common prior to the 20th century. Landing Folsom was one of the turning points in CU history. Folsom coached at CU for 15 years, still a Colorado record, compiling a 77-23-2 record in 3 different stints as the head coach, winning 9 conference championships. His 77 wins stood as the most in school history for 78 years. Folsom didn't stop at just coaching football. He was also a baseball coach at CU from 1898 to 1899. Then eventually taught at CU's law school for nearly 4 decades. Folsom passed in 1944, the same year when Colorado Stadium was built and eventually named after him. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of his grandfather, please welcome his namesake, Fred Folsom.
Family, I would like to thank the University of Colorado for inducting Coach Folsom into the CU Football Hall of Fame. My name is Fred Folsom. I'm grandson of CU law professor and coach Fred Folsom. He began playing football in the 1880s. American football was a young sport with an uncertain set of rules. It was a no-holds-barred Donnybrook with a football, and it was a deadly dangerous game. From the start, Coach Folsom's leadership really carried the team. The team was on the bottom of the division, and I believe the first year he took over, he took the same basic cast of characters to their first championship. In 1906, the formal rules of football were drafted. The rules made the game safer and much more interesting to play and watch. Every spring, Coach Folsom would prepare for the upcoming season by rereading and annotating the entire football rules and regulations book. By summer's end, he had deconstructed and reassembled the whole game. Professor Folsom was a lawyerly coach. His approach to the study of law was the same as the way he approached football tactics. When he read the rule book, he asked rule by rule, what does this rule say? What is not said? And what does this omission allow for? And can this blank spot be useful? Is it safe? And does it fit with the spirit of the game? And above all, is it fair? Folsom's best-known student and football player was Whizzer White. Supreme Court Justice Byron White was asked about Professor Folsom's law studies. He said that studying with Professor Folsom was a baptism in integrity. Back in 1941, federal civil rights legislation was absolutely stalled out. My father, Fred Jr., who was a CU law graduate, was working at the Department of Justice Civil Rights section, and everybody was very frustrated, and they just were they had no idea what to do other than go and look over legal precedents over and over and over. And my father remembered his father going back to the rule book. And my father went to the Constitution. And the Constitution required fairness for all of its citizens. And my dad wrote a note to the Attorney General, walked it down the hall, handed it to him. And the note said, the Attorney General is the attorney for all the people of the United States. And everything changed. Truman put some of those laws into effect. And later on in 1964, the 1964 Civil Rights Act was basically that legislation put into effect. And this is, as a third generation Fred Folsom, this is the coach that I learned from listening to my dad talk about him. Go Buffs. Thank you.